Sometimes the people we're meant to love arrive disguised as friends, and sometimes one single night is enough to change the way the heart remembers forever. Frankie and Ballas were inseparable. Best friends since childhood, they moved through life side by side, on bikes, in swimming pools, in classrooms. They were boys in a world that demanded toughness, laughter, and silence over softness. They teased each other, they pushed boundaries, they lived like mirrors, each one reflecting a part of the other. On the surface, it was simple. Two boys growing up, dreaming of futures bigger than their small town. But beneath the easy smiles was something unspoken, a closeness that didn't have a name, a charge that lingered in the air whenever their shoulders brushed, whenever their eyes held too long. Frankie's life was already cracked open. His father had left, not for another woman, but for another man. The house carried the echoes of that choice, whispers of betrayal, and the quiet courage of his mother trying to hold them together. Frankie tried to bury it, to be normal, to swim hard, laugh louder, hide better. And then came the night that would change everything. It was supposed to be just another birthday celebration. Music, drinks, laughter filling the air, a blur of lights and teenage noise. Frankie and Ballas were together, as always, drifting in and out of conversations, half smiling at the chaos around them. But the night slowed down when it was just the two of them. In the quiet after the noise, in the shadows of a room too small to contain what was growing between them, the unthinkable happened. A touch, hesitant at first, then more certain. A kiss, trembling, unexpected, and devastatingly real. For a fleeting moment, the world fell away. There was no fear, no judgment, no weight of expectation. Only warmth, only truth, only two boys discovering that the thing they had been circling all these years had a name. Love, desire, something too big to hide. But as quickly as it bloomed, fear crept in. Ballas pulled away, his body stiff, his breath sharp, his eyes filled with panic. The night ended not in tenderness, but in silence. The next morning, the world felt heavier. What had been a secret flame was now a burden carried differently by each of them. For Frankie, it was confusing, tender, and terrifying, but also liberating. For Ballas, it was a threat, a danger to everything he thought he was. And fear, when it festers, can be cruel. Whispers began to spread, stories twisted in cruel mouths. Frankie, once surrounded by friends, found himself isolated. Jokes sharpened into rumors, smiles turned into glares. Ballas, desperate to outrun the truth, joined the chorus. He laughed louder, pushed Frankie further, hid behind cruelty to bury what had happened. Their bond, once unbreakable, now carried the sting of betrayal. Frankie was left alone, standing in the ruins of a friendship that had been his entire world. Frankie carried the weight quietly. He didn't lash out, didn't beg, didn't crumble. Instead, he wandered through the pieces of himself, trying to understand what it meant to want something the world told him not to. He remembered his father, the way he had left, the way people whispered about him. And for the first time, Frankie saw the quiet bravery in his father's choice, to live honestly, even if it shattered everything. The mirror of that courage burned inside him. Meanwhile, his mother, strong but fragile in her own way, stood by him. She didn't always have the right words, but she had love. And sometimes, love is enough to hold someone together when the world tries to pull them apart. Frankie also found unexpected allies, people who didn't care about the rumors, who saw him for who he was. They reminded him that chosen family can be just as powerful as blood. But still, at night, when the noise faded, he remembered Ballas. He remembered the softness of that kiss, the truth that lived between them, and the fear that tore it apart. What do you do when the person you love most becomes the one who fears you? When the world teaches you to hide the very pieces of yourself that glow the brightest? Frankie wasn't just fighting for acceptance. He was fighting for his right to feel, to believe that the tenderness of that night was not a mistake, but a truth. In a town that measured manhood in fists and silence, Frankie dared to let himself be soft. He dared to hope. He dared to imagine a love that didn't end in shame. But as Ballas ran from what they shared, Frankie carried it like a secret flame, proof that even in the hardest places, love can still bloom. Giant Little Ones is more than a story. It is a poem about desire, fear, and the fragile courage of first love. A reminder that even when the world turns away, the heart remembers. If you've ever loved against the odds, if you've ever carried a secret flame in your chest, this story belongs to you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this journey, because every love deserves to be remembered.